This is my first taste of a virtual Sangha. And so far, so good. I like seeing all these faces out there. Now, for those of you I've never met, I'm Will, and I just wanted to welcome you here. I'm in Bamboo Hueco. This is the home and retreat center that I live in with my wife, Coco. We do our practices here. And as Christopher was saying, until COVID changed everything, people would come down. We have a lovely little retreat cottage because I like working with individuals very intensively. So that business model isn't happening anymore. And I think I said to Christopher the other day, I think I came off as somewhat responsible and prescient when a week before Costa Rica shuttered all its borders, we canceled all of the retreats. So even before that, I had envisioned that we would do this Zoom retreat at the end of the month. And serendipitously, as Christopher said, for 2 years, I've not had really good internet. We have internet that allows us to do this. So welcome. It's really nice to be with you all. It's most interesting looking at all these faces. Okay. So, you know what Christopher was saying at the end, that things changed for him. The change that I envision, that I want to see happening in the Buddhist world, really has to do with how sitting practices are taught. Mostly practices we're told to sit down and then we begin the practice. We're going to focus on this, lose our focus, refocus, or there's some kind of practice that we do once we sit down. And in many ways, honestly, all I feel that I'm doing is viewing this play, this dance of sitting in upright balancing as the practice itself, that instead of, assuming a static kind of posture, we sit down, maybe we're watching our breath. Some of those practices are actually done better in a static body. What I've envisioned, really have played with now for many, decades really, is a more ecstatic play in the body while we're sitting. Now, starting from the beginning, what that is doing, it's going to make our time on the cushion so much more comfortable. That a majority of you, I'm assuming, have, like me, we've sat through Vipassana retreats, we've sat through Vajrayana Datuns, we've sat through Zen Sesshin, and we know how extraordinary those practices are. Yet at the same time, we come out affected, but there's a huge amount of unnecessary pain that gets instilled into those practices by, for the very reason that, we jump over. It's about sitting down. Sitting down, just sitting down and start playing with this posture. Now, I'm not a scholar, but the texts that I have read and that mean a great deal to me, one of them is the Satipatthana Sutta, whose words are supposedly attributed to the historical Buddha himself. And in the very first sentence of the Buddha's instructions about meditating, he says, sit down in a posture of meditation and make sure the spine is erect and upright, what does that mean? We can't sit rigidly or forcefully or still, right? But he's saying, make sure the spine is erect and upright. Even that simple instruction to me changes everything. So what I do in the intensive interaction that I have with, with students, is, really work with finding a place. It's not really a place. I can't call it a place, a process in the body where everything is infinitely more comfortable. And it's all just very natural. It's not like we're imposing any kind of artificial posture onto ourselves. So, and, don't misunderstand me. I revere the 2,500-year tradition of the wisdom teachings. They've affected me so deeply. In some ways, the observation that I have to share is that much of the Dharma that's coming over here from Asia has somehow gotten dry. It's gotten a little bit brittle, in some ways patriarchal, militaristic even. Okay? And what I also see is that much or most of the Dharma that's coming over has become obsessed with what we conventionally call mind, which also conventionally is divorced from the awakening of the felt presence of the body. You don't really want one without the other. The awakening of the body really does something to the awakening of the consciousness. And if you just stay within the conventional arena of mind, we're missing out on the fuel that flames the fire. And, it's in that awakening, literally what Buddha means is to awake. And as we're going to see even in this hour, mostly what we're sleepy about are the sensations in the body, the shimmer. They could be felt if we turn our attention to it. So, and I've seen this obsession and this divorce, mind body. It's here in the West. It's everywhere. But somehow the Dharma, much of it, I have seen has gone down that route. In addition to that, with the sitting posture itself, I feel that Buddhism has painted itself into a corner of frozen stillness. And what I'm getting at is that there's so much emphasis on keeping still, holding the body as though you're a stone garden statue of the Buddha. Okay? Now, believe me, that's where I started too. And you get a lot from that, but I got to a point where something was resisting something that wanted to happen. Okay. Now, when I sit, in front of a hall of meditators, the first thing that always draws my attention is that I look out on the hall and everybody, whether they're sitting very, very straight or in some kind of collapse or skewed kinds of postures, which are normal. It's normal for us because we haven't had the training, right? But what I see with virtually all of them, everybody is holding themselves extremely still. That the conventional posture of meditation is frozen. It's frozen. Again, it's like freezing something down. I often say it's as though we think the goal of the practice is to become like a stone garden statue of the Buddha. Now, look, the problem with that, if you hold anything tightly and keep it held still, everybody do this right now, just hold yourself as still as you possibly can. What starts happening? Okay, there's a relaxation that occurs, but as you go deeper, that frozen quality, that holding yourself still, creates a lot of tension and pain in the body. We're just having to hold ourselves still. It creates a great deal of pain and tension in the body. Now, if you're watching your breath when you're holding yourself still, what you're also going to see is that it limits the range of the breath to just a fraction of what it potentially can do in a system that is really let go. And what we're really talking about here is letting go of some of the restrictions that we've laid on ourselves, letting go of the holding, the holding still. As we'll see later in our time here tonight, for relaxation to continue over time, everything has to keep moving. Okay. Often that stillness will manifest, or it always manifests in holding the head very still. Holding the head very still. No motion in the head. This looks pretty normal, actually, right? But if you sit that way for a long enough period of time, you'll get that not only is it causing pain and tension in the body, holding breath to just a minimum of its full natural range, and it's also in some strange way, that kind of frozen quality fuels the already out of control parade of random and unbidden thoughts in the mind. Now, all of those, for me anyway, and for all of us, are not what we hope really exploring in depth these Dharma teachings, that we hope that they're going to do for us. So for me, the practices start with sitting, they proceed through sitting, and it's all about the experience of sitting. So in some ways, it's almost more like exploring a yoga posture. The meditation becomes a physical, exploration and a yielding to. The deeper forces, that want to open the body when we really let go of our holding. And all the different forms of the Dharma, we're going to say that ultimately what we have to do is let go, right? We have to let go. So for me, it starts with the release. Well, first it starts with the awakening of the body so that we have a feeling of, I'm holding something on tight, I can let it go. Now, within the posture of meditation teachings, these are the fundamental foundations of the teachings. I work with people to play with Buddha's notion of sitting with the spine erect and upright, not collapsed. Okay, there's something about the erect and upright spine that does something. It's almost as though it's like a lightning rod. Okay, connecting the energies deep in the earth with the energies way up, way up. Forever it goes up when we actually feel this. So if you want, let's just play with this a little bit. And again, in the longer teachings, obviously we can go into much more depth and detail about this. You might be sitting on cushions, you might be on a kneeling bench, you might be in a chair. The same principles are going to apply whatever the seat that you're choosing to be most comfortable in, okay? So I ask that people raise their pelvis to a height higher than their knees. It's easy usually on the floor, sitting cross-legged, because we usually have cushions, zafus that we sit on. Same thing true in the chair, though. In a chair, sit out at the front of the chair and maybe add a cushion or two. So, there you are. So just explore what the Buddha is telling you. Sit with the spine erect and upright. You may have to stretch. Now, the whole purpose of alignment, okay, is that it's going to allow you to let go and relax. What organizing the upright sitting posture around this imaginary vertical axis, it is kind of a sweet spot, a structural sweet spot that allows you to start actually feeling like gravity isn't just crunching me down. Okay, if you're sitting in a posture like this, You can't let go. You can't relax. You're going to fall. You sit here and you play here. It's not one place. We're going to see this is not like a fence post. It's more like what happens when we ride a bicycle, because our breath is going to change everything. It's going to move everything through the body. Just for a few minutes, just play with this notion of upright alignment. Oh, how tall can you be? How tall can you be? But it's not like a ballet dancer's tall. You know, we're not kind of preening for height, because what we want to do while we're giving ourselves permission to explore what it might be like to sit as tall as we possibly can be, is simultaneously relax as much as you can be. Okay? Now, how can you possibly be as tall as you can be, but as relaxed as you can possibly be? They sound like two antithetical impulses. But that's the first kind of body-oriented koan, if you want to call that I often give to students. Sit down and make your practice right in the beginning. Explore this koan. How tall can I be, but as relaxed as I can be? So again, it's not like the preening, grasping for height. I used to do that when my parents on my birthday would back me up to a door jam, you know, and how tall I'd been. I wanted to see how tall I could be. So it's not that, but it's not a collapsed posture either. So it's playing with both of those impulses. How tall can you be? How relaxed can you be? The whole purpose of alignment is that we can let go. And we don't fall over. So we can let go. We can literally let go of holding that might have been necessary in our former meditation posture just to hang on. We don't have to exert that kind of tension anymore. We just play with the upright. So we can let go, and it's as though we drop the weight of the body down through the upright spine without compressing the spine. How tall can you be? How relaxed can you be? Nice. Okay. Relaxation requires that we awaken the shimmer, awaken the literally sensational presence of the body, because if we can't feel the tension or holding, we don't have anything to relax. So everybody, and especially those folks who haven't sat with me before in retreats, go ahead and hold, let's say, a right hand out in front of you, okay? Christopher, are people going to be able to speak at this point or not?
Yes, they can. I'll unmute them. Just I ask people to be a little careful with
that's great. I appreciate that.
I'll allow them to unmute themselves.
Okay. Yeah. As you're holding your hand out there, just put your awareness in your hand. What's going on? How would you describe, what words would you use to describe the experience of your hand at this point? And go ahead, folks. Anybody throw stuff out.
Buzzing.
Buzzing?
Buzzing, yeah.
Okay.
Tingling.
Buzzing. Throbbing.
Open. Alive. Heavy.
Alive, heavy.
Heat.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Heat. H-E-A-T, heat.
Heat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Gravity.
I was about to say heat also.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a buzzing quality, right? There's a tingling, a throbbing. And then there's also this strange kind of quality of space permeating the tingling. There's also, of course, the weight, the heat. Often people will start with the coolness or the heat of the air around. What I'm the most interested in is what I call the shimmer, which is the tingling, the buzzing, the percolating, the minute little pinprick blips of shimmer that is very alive, is it not? Now, so the question, we're not pulling bunnies out of a hat here, right? Where'd those sensations come from? And why didn't we experience them anyway as potently, perhaps, as we just did, before we decided to examine it? And this is a lot of where my inquiry into all this started, when sensations started awakening in my body. And I welcomed them. I enjoyed them. I fought with them. I tried to break through them. I tried to sometimes stop them, and I learned to love them. And in the act of accepting them, that's when everything started shifting. Okay. So I've said before that we live in this fundamentally somatophobic culture. It isn't just in the hand, it's everywhere in the body. Everywhere in the body, just as you just did with your hand. We could wake up. Waken the body, invite it back from its exile, what I call its exile in the land of the unfelt. Within the somatic culture, the mind, the thoughts are valued. And there's actually kind of an irritation and a real profound emotional discomfort with these powerful, literally sensational shimmers, buzzes, awakened presence of body. Largely when that awakens, a lot of the lost in thought quality, someone pulls a plug on it. But we live in a culture that that values thought over our lived experience, and this is kind of the quandary that we're in. So this for me is the practice of meditation. We're going to start awakening and see how that affects us. So the first thing we have is the upright alignment. Then we're wanting to relax, but to relax we have to feel what it is that we're wanting to relax. Go ahead, put your awareness back in your hand. Anything there you can just soften, let go of, almost feel like it's water dripping down, right? Okay, let's sit here and just put your awareness up into the top of your head. You don't have to try to change anything, okay? We're not creating sensations. We're just inviting what's ever there to come forward. And then once we register, I feel the shimmer up there. I feel a pain, a throbbing, a whatever. I feel this minute pinprick blips. Ooh, what can I relax? Oh, I can let go. I can let go through the sides of my head. I can just relax that. And going through your face, your forehead. Sensations, relaxation. Sometimes you put your awareness in a part of your body. The sensation comes forward. It's an invitation. And then immediately it's a letting go, a softening through the whole of the face. A softening. Feels more fluid. The back of the head into the neck, the throat. going down the shoulders and the arms. And we're really rushing this, right? But there's a lot that I really want to cover here in the time we have together here tonight. On your own, there are body-oriented forms of Burmese Vipassana in the tradition of Ubakin. Extraordinary practices for helping to awaken, becoming aware of the literally sensational shimmer, the presence of body, down into the hands. Into the chest, back of the rib cage, down into the lower torso, the pelvis, and all the way down through the legs. So in the beginning of my practice, this is certainly one of the ways that I work. I often say I don't teach techniques, I teach strategies. Strategies for how to negotiate or navigate this journey that playing with upright balance unleashes. A current gets activated. How do we follow that? Well, these are the strategies. Working with the upright. Passing the awareness through the entire body. Inviting feeling presence to come back to life. And as soon as feeling presence comes back into awareness, what can I let go of? What can I relax? Okay, now look, when we're relaxing these tensions, sometimes it's very open. We get into this wide open dimension of the sensations. It seems like they shimmer on quite extensively. Other times we drop down into what I call the primal contraction. Okay, and these are, it's like the storehouse. Something happens in our life, it's too much, I cannot feel it right now. Nope, can't do this. This primal contraction is where we put all those feelings that were unexpressed, unexperienced. And it tightens, it tightens, it tightens, it tightens, it tightens. Okay? So as you start bringing, the whole of the body back to felt life, it's not just the sweet shimmer. You go deeper and you get in touch with holdings and pains, and all of a sudden, a moment before there was sensations like soft falling rain through the body, and now it feels something strong or intense or gnarly or deeply emotional. These come up as well. And I feel very, very strongly that we need to allow whatever it is that's coming up for us. And, again, here I would observe that, a lot of traditional Dharma, it's about becoming calmer, becoming more peaceful, okay? Which is wonderful, is all well and good. But what I'm talking about is really liberating. Liberating the hold, the knot, okay? The knot that, ties us up and keeps us limited to our most superficial dimension of consciousness, what I call the exclusivity or the fixity of the egoic perspective, I and everything else, right? And so this holding in the body is very, very good for doing that. In fact, it's necessary to do that. But when we start really giving ourselves permission to feel, and you realize, holding doesn't feel very good. What am I doing this for? Let go. There's openings that occur, but also, what is going to come forth is whatever it is you've been holding back on. Repressed angers, terrors, Vajrayana calls it the lion's roar that can sometimes come out. We just accept. This is about accepting whatever it is that we feel. If we have pain in our body, we're not trying to change the pain. We're just trying to give ourselves permission to be in it, not observing it, to be in it. What does it want to do? And know that it's okay. And we keep going. So the upright allows us to start passing our awareness through the body. Sometimes you might want to go in a very linear fashion, as is done in the wonderful Burmese Vipassana forms. Other times you might, just feel the pelvis, feel the grounding, the energy. Feel that if you just let go in your pelvis and just surrender the weight of your pelvis to gravity. That's really ultimately what relaxation is. And then you feel the billowing of the energies there. Then add, go way, way up to the top of your head. Those two places simultaneously. Just keep relaxing through. Then add this horizontal expansion. What happens? What comes up? If I had been born on a desert island, and on that island there was only one piece of Dharma instruction, I had to live my life on that island. The piece of instruction that I personally would choose to find in a little gift book on the island comes from Tilopa's Song of Mahamudra, one of the earliest Mahamudra teachers. And he gives the whole of the meditation instructions in one very pithy sentence. The translation of which that I like the best simply says, do nothing with the body but relax. That's it. Just relax. That's the instruction. Just sit and do nothing with the body but relax. Now, if we take that to heart, we're going to have to start playing with this sweet spot, this imaginary vertical axis that we could organize the structure of our body around in the same way that the great high sequoia trees in California, they organize themselves around this amazing vertical structure so they can grow to those incredible heights, or the skyscrapers. So we can play with that. And as we do that, we feel, there's a lengthening that can come through. I don't have to sit here. I can stack the segments of my body, almost like children's building blocks, one on top of the other. There's this height that comes through the giving into alignment. And then the relaxation starts. Letting go through the body. Okay. Now remember what I said, this is not a static posture. And the practice is not a static practice. It's an ecstatic, coming out of this condition of stasis, of frozenness, of stillness. And what I'm getting at is that the purpose of alignment is to allow us to relax. For relaxation to continue over any period of time, we have to start allowing subtle, continuous, spontaneous, amoeba-like motions to occur in resilient response to the force of breath that in a really relaxed body wants to make its felt way through the entire body, very similar to how a wave in the ocean moves through that body of water, right? Now, if you're holding yourself very rigidly and still, you cannot experience this motion. It compresses it. Okay? But if we go tall, we start going relaxed, and then we really start letting go, just dropping at the onset of inhalation all the way into the ground. Now the spine, let's just talk briefly about the spine. The spine is not a Roman column. It's composed of individual vertebral bones. The joints between the vertebral bones, their function is no different from the purpose of joints anywhere in the body. They're designed for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to move, okay? So as we breathe, and we're really deeply relaxing, we're going to start feeling motion. Natural motion occurring from the tip of the coccyx right up into the occiput and really right up through the top of the head. Okay. The rib cage. The ribs are not like a medieval suit of armor. Yes, they're here to protect, but they're individual. They could move individually. And so I often give people a simple practice. Yes, play with tall and relaxed, but now add that as you breathe, feel the possibility of motion that can occur in each of the vertebrae. Feel the possibility of the ribs expanding and contracting. And this is what allows relaxation to continue over time. Not coincidentally, what I'm talking about is, again, in my understanding, the culminating instruction on breath that, again, if the words in the Satipatthana Sutta are, in fact, the words of the Buddha himself, they're the culminating instructions on breathing. You know, the Buddha says after you sit down with the spine relaxed and upright, you want to start observing breath. This is where so much Buddhist Dharma, begins. I mean, breath is so unconscious, so we're drawing our attention to it. We're watching it. The Buddha says, watch it, observe it as it goes in and out. Sounds familiar for those of us that have done Dharma practices. That's not, however, where the instructions end. In a few more statements, well, the next statement, he's spoken a kind of shorthand. The next one is, as we keep working with bringing our awareness of breath to life, we become aware of all the nuances, the shadings, the differentiations, the colorings, okay? And then in what for me was an altogether remarkable statement that I really don't want to say grappled with, it has been inspiring. It's been like a puzzle. I knew I had to figure it out. The culminating instruction on breath from the Buddha is, as you breathe in through the entire body, So to do that, two things are necessary. First of all, we have to awaken the feeling presence of the body, because how could we possibly breathe through the whole body if we're not even able to feel it, right? And then the second one is we were just exploring here, we have to be so relaxed that we can let the wave of breath, click, 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 cause transmitted motion through all the joints in the body, just like how a wave moves through a body of water. And then suddenly we find ourselves swimming in this ocean that the Buddha calls breathing through the whole body. Now, except in a few instances in the contemporary Dharma world, that, to the best of my knowledge, is not taught, other than a few instances. But what I'm talking about here is a very different application of how to explore that. And in truth, what I teach in the Dharma world, such as I'm a teacher in the Dharma world, it's more that culminating statement of the Buddha's than it necessarily is even the beginning foundational stages of just observing. I want to go for that immediately, because so much, if you play with upright balance, relaxing and starting to let motion happen, which makes your life infinitely more comfortable in retreats, datuns, sesshin. If you keep doing that, the next thing you know is suddenly, oh my God, that's what the words were saying. It almost feels like my body is this pranic balloon. It feels like I'm breathing, filling up the entirety of the body. Letting go. Now, as you know, some of you may know, I also have been really influenced by the poetry of the Sufi mystic poet Rumi. And Rumi was a great breather. You know, one of Rumi's practices was about breathing freely, breathing freely. And in one of his spontaneously uttered poems, he said, bringing breath to life is the essence of every true religion. It's the cure for every illness. Let every breath you take cleanse the soul of its grief and pain so it can continue to burn brightly inside you. Now, for me, that statement in the Buddha's more straightforward, breathe through the whole body, are saying actually the same thing. Bringing breath to life, isn't that what we're doing here? Through this letting go. Our breath is literally coming to life. Now, in the beginning, the force of the breath gets much stronger. As we keep going into some of the more, I hesitate to really call them advanced stages, but once we establish the foundation of this expansive inhalation, naturally receding exhalation, then we can really start letting go. And then we just follow the emerging sensations, we follow the breath. And sometimes if we bring forth a level of the primal contraction, all of a sudden there we were a second ago, breathing, it was so open, the next thing you know, it's gotten small, tiny, and contracted again, I have to be with that. So we cycle through that. That's how this practice works. For me, it's more of a getting into a river and surrendering to the current than it is a focusing, losing focus and bringing the focus right back. Well, in some degree, in some ways it is that too, but it's not done statically. Okay? So in the teaching I do, what we've done here in in the last 45 minutes is basically what we do on probably the first 4 or 5 days of retreat. Now, there's lots of different exercises. There's a wonderful one that I call breathing in the 6 directions. Okay? That, as you breathe in, everything expands in all 6 directions. And we have very specific ways of opening that. There's a very, very strong breathing practice that I do that I'm calling hollow bamboo breathing. There's a form of Burmese Vipassana called Sunlun that in some way I've used as inspiration for this. But I've modified it for the teaching. So we spend time just exploring the sitting. Then we spend some time really breathing strongly in this upright sitting posture. Keeping the spine constantly moving. We do that for a period of time. It awakens a lot of shimmer. We go deep. We sit again. And then we lay down. There's so many more practices that we do, but they all keep coming back to what we've shared tonight, these fundamental foundations. The alignment, the letting go, the relaxation, and then everything, naturally. just wants to move. It feels serendipitous to do this with you all tonight, because I am calling for kind of a reformation in the Buddhist world about how we approach sitting. And sitting is the common denominator to all the many schools and lineages. Very rarely is there any instruction given just to the experience of the sitting. And yet, this is what we're doing. We're sitting and breathing. And the more we're able to play with these fundamental principles, it's not just that it's more comfortable. The deeper we go. Someone at the beginning of the hour said, yeah, it's throbbing, it's sensations, it's tingling, it's buzzing, but there's space there. Somehow the awakening, very soft awakening, opens an awareness of a great vast space. I call it the great wide open. That to me is our birthright foundation as human beings. It's not just being calm and clear in our mind. It's wow. Just letting go, so profoundly, relaxing so deeply that we open into a completely natural dimension of embodied consciousness. And we go, wow, yeah, I like it there. That's me, with the exception that there isn't the fixity of the egoic me there. It's just this wide open dimension. So it also felt very serendipitous. We got our internet up and running because I think it might have been 7 or 8 months ago that I foresaw that I was going to hold this Zoom retreat. And I had no idea how I was going to do it. I thought we'd probably have to drive into San Jose and do it in a hotel or something because our internet wouldn't do it. So here we were able to establish pretty darn good connection. So, look, I invite any of you, if you're interested in exploring any of this deeper, really consider joining in on that retreat. We'll be meeting on Zoom 3 hours every morning for 7 days. So we can go into what we're talking about here in so much more depth and detail. And my intention really is that from wherever we start, that all of us, myself included, we will end that retreat in a different understanding of what sitting meditation is all about. A different deepening of the practice. A couple nights a week, I'm going to want people to send me questions, and we'll do, I think I set it up for 2 nights of questions and answers. I'll look forward to, to that as well. We also, in our work, sometimes use colored discs. I'll be sending some of those out to the people in the retreat. Some of the people have asked me, can I just do the 3 hours in the morning and live my life? Of course you can, it's your retreat. I'm a big believer in self-retreat. And what's interesting about this is more like self-retreat than going to a Dharma center where we're all sitting there, right? You're on your own, and yet we're all here together, which is kind of lovely. Some people have said, yeah, they want to use the 3 hours and then keep working in the afternoons and the evenings. That's fine, whatever works. Other people, especially people not in our time zone, I know we've got a couple of people in Asia and Australia and in Eastern Europe that have asked, will we make recordings available? And so we will, do that. So if the times aren't convenient, you can participate in those as well. But anyway, look, I want to turn this back over to Christopher. Thank you for all of you coming here. I enjoy sharing this with people. I feel strongly about the value and the benefit of what we're up to here. For those of us who are just beginning the path, let's start with the right foundations. In truth, most of the people that come to the organized retreats that I used to do in North America were probably Dharma students that had sat for a long time. That were and yet they'd gotten to a place that felt like they had plateaued or hit a wall. And it's especially gratifying being able to work with those folks, because I think we could pinpoint fairly easily what was happening and finding our way through. So it's all about finding our way through. This is it. It's like we've got to do something inside here. One of Rumi's poems was, you can't untie the knot just by listening to fairy tales. You got to do something inside yourself. For me, this practice, yes, it's a meditation practice. Within the long lineage traditions of Buddhist Dharma, but it embraces all sitting. I actually feel that what I teach is sitting. Sitting is a mudra of transformation, a profound spiritual awakening and opening, also a profound healing of the physical body, and also of what's stored emotionally and somatically in the body. So we're playing with all of those. Anyway, thank you all for coming. Much good blessings and luck. May we all stay safe and healthy, and let's have more of these. Christopher, go ahead. You finish us up here.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Will. Really wonderful to see you at your home, being able to offer your gift. I invite everybody to take that right hand again. Feel the shimmer. Feel the wakefulness in it that Will reminded us to, which is already always present. Bring it to your heart. Just feel the beating within. And take your left hand, bring it to your belly. Feel the breath. Don't modify it in any way, just allow. Be present with this consciousness which is beyond your mind, which knows. It has a gift for you. And Will laid out the introduction quite beautifully and poetically. Feel gratitude for that breath, often unbidden, unwitnessed. And then feel the love emanating from your heart for being able to receive this tonight. And if you're drawn, I invite you to contact Will through his email address. Say, hey, I want to know more about the retreat. I'm interested. We will be recording it, making it available, so it could be done across time zones through the recorded portion as an ideal support to a self-retreat. And bringing our hands back together, bow to one consciousness, the love that causes anyone to even bring this kind of into the world. And just thank you all for you, and thank you for showing up. I hope to see you at the end of July at the online virtual retreat, and successfully we'll bring more of these even in the future.